Hey guys, we're going to continue our process, and today we're going to talk about drywall and painting. Now with painting, obviously you've got to talk about color. It's the most important thing in the world. So we got some color wheels.
Yep.
Kayla and I are going to give you a little education from Granite Ridge University on color. So we'll be kind of brief.
Okay.
Luke, that's a color for you. It's a bigger one, and you're colorblind, so try to stick with us, would you?
I'll try to keep up.
Okay, did you guys know that there's actually 3 colors that actually every color comes from? It's red, it's what other? Red, blue, and yellow. Those are the only colors that can't be mixed to produce that color. Kayla, what if I mix them? What happens?
If you mix them, they'll get green and orange and purple.
Okay, we've got a color wheel for you.
Okay.
There is 12 colors on this. A gentleman by the name of Sir Isaac Newton invented this a long, long time ago. Put 12 colors together. He's got the 3 primary colors, okay? That is red, blue, and yellow. Now, if you mix those together, you're going to get 3 secondary colors, all right? Then you have the other 6 tertiary colors. Now what we do in this color wheel is, if these colors are across from each other, they're complementary. And if they're next to each other, Kayla, they're analogous. And when they're next to each other, what does that mean?
Well, they're blended together, so they look good together because there's some of those shades within each other.
Now what if they're across from each other? What does that mean on complementary?
So complementary, it's exactly what you said. They're complementary, so they're going to look good together because they're across the color wheel and they're almost exact opposite. So like Christmas, you see green and red all the time.
Sure, those look good. And we also have purple and yellow. Looks always very good, right?
Yes.
And we also have blue and orange. Those look amazing.
Like the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah, well.
Okay, because Kayla, what else do we have when you're talking about color?
Well, one of the things that people are really going towards now is monochromatic.
And what does that mean?
Monochromatic is using the same hue and having tints and shades. So a tint, you add white to the color, and a shade, you add black. And then you get all sorts of different colors within that.
Okay, so all those colors would always go. So if you took a blue and went a little bit of different shade, that's always going to look good, but that's called monochromatic.
Yes.
All right, now also we have something, guys, besides the pigment, you got to talk about light. And that'll affect this by how. So just who knows about the hue lighting?
Well, hue lighting is one of the things that we've done here in this house. When it comes to color, there are lots of things that you can actually do on your iPad that can actually help you play with color. We've got these 2 things called hue lights right here that I can actually change the color of the lights just from a simple app. And of course, if you look at the pictures below, watch what happens as the light changes.
You can actually make a sunset to a sunrise just by the different colors of lighting. So at Granite Ridge, we've been talking a lot about what color does and how it affects you, okay? So it makes a big difference when you're painting a house, especially the interior, doesn't it?
It does. It makes all the difference in the world. There's all sorts of factors that come into color.
Lonnie, you're asleep. Lonnie.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Blue.
Yes, that's it. All right, guys, let's start the show. I think we got enough education for today.
Okay. All right. You know, I really like this over here. I think this is going to be such a fun show today. I love color. You know how much I like to play around with unique things.
I agree, and a little bit of color makes a big difference in a home.
It does. I love the craft room, how many different colors there are down there. You can't have enough fun with it.
Okay, does everybody have their color? Lonnie, I think everybody's got it. Why don't you open the show up?
Hey, welcome to Between the Studs. I'm Lonnie Norris, and this is part of the Granite Ridge Builders custom home building team, including Tony Ranke, our president. We enjoy coming into your home and talking about new homes. All the trends, decorating ideas, plans. There's a lot of things to talk about when you talk about custom homes. And we have an exciting show planned for today, I think. Tony, what are we doing?
Obviously color. Color affects everything. Color affects the way you feel. Color affects the way you act. And in new construction, it obviously is a very, very big part of decorating. We talk about the interior. We talk about the exterior. We talked just a little bit about the education, what color is, but let's do this. Let's give our audience a little treat. Let's talk about what the emotional effect of certain colors are. So you all have one, so let's pick a color. Tell our audience what it means.
Sure, I've got blue. Blue is by far the most popular color choice. It's the least gender specific. It's very calming. We think of the sky and the sea, so very calming. Helps reduce stress. Owls are the only birds that can see blue, which is kind of unique. The most popular toothbrush color is blue. So very calming. You can see we've all chosen blue. So
I chose it because women like blue, so I just figured that would help us all out. That's why we did it. Well, I've got purple. Purple is a royalty color. It is also a very creative color, and it has a big gamut, doesn't it, Kayla?
It does.
It can go from a deep, dark purple to a very, very light purple.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most universal colors that goes with about anything, too, which is a really fun color to use then.
It does. So I have yellow, and yellow is a primary color, and it's used for caution. It's very bright and eye-catching. They actually say that painting a baby's room yellow will keep them up at night because it's very stimulating. I didn't actually believe that. I painted my kid's room yellow, and he does not sleep very well, so I guess it is very true. The other color I have is pink, and pink is actually one of the colors, just like blue, that is very universal. Everybody likes pink, but a lot of men are scared of it. They won't buy things that are pink. But if something comes in a pink box, it's said that it actually tastes better as well. So a lot of people like it, but some people are just a little scared of it.
Yeah, guys, now I have green, which you actually get green from mixing the two primary colors, blue and yellow. Now, green reminds us of being outside. You see the grass, the trees, the foliage, which makes us feel very, very secure. They say that green is a very good color to paint bedrooms. And then also, if you have any green in your kitchen, it makes you a more creative chef. Which now we have some green in our kitchen. I'd say that perfectly describes some of the things she tries to feed me. So, and then also they say when you're working in a green environment, you actually have less stomach aches.
I actually have black today, and black means a lot of different things. In Western civilization, we tend to think of black as depressing and death and things like that, but it also means can represent elegance or wealth. A lot of times when we think of black attire, it's very dressy, like the black dress or even the men's tuxedo. Black's also used to really make some of these other colors stand out and pop when you pair it with black.
Sure.
And red is another primary color here. I think of life, love, passion, and action. They say it's appetite and action are the two things that red actually causes. You'll notice that you can actually see someone's heart rate elevate if they're in a red room. A lot of restaurants are going to have red there because it increases your appetite. That's why people like apples, of course. And then action, again, if you go to Las Vegas, you'll see a lot of red. And actually even, that's why a lot of people do the sports cars in red, but you gotta be careful. I got the most tickets ever when I had a red car.
That's called a Rest Me Red color.
It is. Hey guys, by the way, my eyes are blue. I want you to take note of that. But I also like the color orange. It's a combination of red and yellow on the color chart, and it's very warm, it's friendly, it's invigorating. Did you know that not all oranges are orange?
Huh.
And yet they paint them because it's a very inviting, invigorating color. Interesting.
I know Luke likes it because that's still part of that bear color thing going on. I don't know, understand it. Well, you know what? This is really interesting. As you can see, there's so many things to talk about with color. So today, we're going to talk a little bit more about color, how it affects new construction. And I think before we do that, though, we still have to talk about drywall. So Lonnie, you and Luke, why don't you take off to one of the houses we've got going, talk a little bit about drywall. We'll stay here and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this color and how it affects new construction. How's that?
Great.
All right, good job.
Color go.
I got some good news. We got our inspection.
Wonderful. I'm just finishing up insulation, so I think we're ready for the next stage.
We are. You know, before we ever paint walls, we need to deal with the walls. We need to hang walls. So I think we're ready to do that here.
We're ready for the drywall.
Ready for drywall.
Yeah.
Speaking of drywall, by the way, it's a very important process. It takes about 10 days in a typical home. It's about 3.5% of the cost of the home. So we need to understand it. So what is drywall?
Well, some people may refer to it as a sheetrock or gypsum board or wall board, but it's relatively new. Actually, we've only been doing it since around the 1950s.
You're right, Luke. It was discovered in about the 1916 or invented in 1916, I think. But before that, we used plaster and lath. And evidence of plaster and lath goes back all the way to Jordan to 7500 BC.
Yeah, and they've actually found plaster inside the ancient pyramids too, and it's holding up very well.
Right, and by the way, they called it wet application because it was actually wet. Now drywall is actually more dry.
Yeah,
more dry.
the boards are dry, so you don't have to put all that wet plaster, just plaster in certain areas.
You talked about a 10-day process.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
So from the day we start hanging the drywall to the day that it's ready to be primed, it takes roughly 10 days. That can fluctuate based on the season. It's humid like today. It's going to take longer for the 3 layers of compound that we have to put where all of the all the joints are and where all the fasteners are.
So it's going to take maybe a day or two to actually hang it.
Yep. And then the rest of the duration is putting those 3 layers on.
And they call it mud?
Yeah, mud and taping. Yep,
Those
yep.
butt
So like
joints?
we use a tape here. This is a fiberglass tape. We put those on all the butt joints of the drywall.
And Luke, it's it is quite a process. How do they fasten? Do we screw? Do we nail? What are we doing?
Good question. We actually do both. So when they're hanging that sheet, they'll actually fasten the drywall with nails around the perimeter
corners,
first.
okay.
Yep. Then they have another guy that follows him with his screw gun, and then he screws what we call the field of the drywall, basically the center portion of the drywall.
And then over the butt joints goes the tape.
The tape, and then the 3 coats of mud, as well as the 3 coats of mud over all of those fasteners.
It sounds like a very interesting process. We're going to show our audience a few steps of the process, and we're also going to dig a little deeper and talk a little more specifically about it.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about what gypsum actually is? We need to go find a piece of drywall for that. So I think there's some over here. Let's go check it out.
Here is a real fun stud fact. Why are the heights of electric outlets the way they are? Well, it's an ease of application. Basically, it is the length of a hammer. So what they do is they take the hammer, measure it, put the electrical out there. It saves all the measuring, saves time, and it's really a great application. But that's why the height of an electric outlet is the way it is today.
Now, Elizabeth, before we can actually talk about the color of paint, we have to go to the basics and really go to the beginning here.
Yes, that's correct. Once we've drywalled and we've done our tape, mud, and sanding, then we prime the walls. This is really important. This is the base. Helps protect the drywall itself.
You want to get it right, and what we recommend is a tinted primer. Gray is going to be the best tint for your colors. It's going to bring out the true color and more vibrant colors a little bit better. We don't recommend a white.
And all of our primers, they're a water-based primer, and again, we prime all of the walls and the ceilings.
I would definitely check with your paint company to see what ones they recommend, because some colors you could actually tint the primer the same color as the wall that you're going to be doing.
Now, once we've primed your walls, we really get to the fun stuff. This is painting. There's 3 different types of paint. There's a flat, eggshell, and semi-gloss.
Yes, and a lot of people tend to lean towards an eggshell or a semi-gloss, which is great for certain areas, maybe for bathrooms and kitchens, but for a whole house, especially new construction, we recommend flat. Flat is going to be much easier to touch up. If you have new construction and you choose an eggshell or a satin, it's going to be very noticeable to see those touch-up areas with the high sheen, especially with dark colors too. You might want to be careful and go more of a flat finish when you have dark colors, because all of that reflection, you can see a lot more imperfections. Lighter colors are better with the sheen, but more darker colors are probably best with a flat. What's great about flat is you can touch it up. So you have your little paint cans and you can go and touch those up, whereas the satin and eggshells are a little bit easier to wash. So it depends on how you're used to taking care of your walls.
There's a lot of painting that goes into a home. Not only do you have your walls, you have your trim, your doors. On average, we use about 75 to 100 gallons of paint and primer. So you probably don't want to do this yourself.
Definitely not. And with Granite Ridge, we recommend Sherwin-Williams Cashmere paint. It's a nice buttery finish and it looks great for your end product.
Now, when we talk to most homeowners, they talk about trim and they say, I want white trim. Well, white is really broad.
There are a lot of different shades of white, as you can see here. Depending on the wall color that you do, if you have more warm colors, you might be going for a creamier kind of white. If you're going for cool wall colors, you might be going a little bit more of a bright, cool white.
Now, we're seeing most homeowners go with a more neutral color palette, so they may have one wall color throughout, or maybe 2, and then a neutral trim, but there's ways to mix that up, aren't there?
There are. So depending on what your neutral wall color is, if you would like to play around with an accent color or an accent room, you can really blend off of what you've done. Cool colors would definitely be more the grays, and if you want to complement that, you can pick greens and blues to go with those. If you pick more of a tan color, you could go with the warmer ones like the reds and the oranges and yellows to really brighten those up if you want to stay in the same sort of palette.
Now, for our area, what would you say is the most common request or what people want?
You know, I see a lot of people going with the Sherwin-Williams colors. We go with Dorian gray all the time, and online, which is a little bit more of a blue gray. So those are really 2 popular gray colors right now that we're using a lot.
And there is mega grayish. That can
Yes.
really confuse you because sometimes it looks tan and sometimes it looks gray.
Which is really great. And the best thing about Sherwin-Williams, they just came out with 100 new colors. So there's even that many more to choose.
Now, when it comes to the exterior of your home, you may want to look at your surroundings when it comes to your your color choice. If you're on water, you may want to stick with something, you know, like a gray or a blue where you think of water. If you're in the woods, maybe the brown tones or the greens are a good option there.
Exactly. And don't forget about accent walls throughout your house. You know, a lot of people want to do an accent wall in a great room or a kitchen, and that's really wonderful. If you want to have a little bit of fun and do something different, you can even do a ceiling or your window treatments.
Now, what I love what you did here at the Next Step house is you did a different door color than your trim color.
Exactly. So if you really want to play around with color and you like to be a little bit more bold, have fun with it and even think about a door.
Hey, Luke, this is a beautiful color display back here. I'm wondering, do you like the yellow one here in the middle next to the orange one, or how would you do it?
The colors don't really mind, but I do like the bigger one better than the smaller one.
Oh, I forgot. You're colorblind.
I am, yep. And there's actually 4 people in our office that are colorblind.
Wow, you know, I read that 8% of males and 0.5% of females of Eastern Europe primarily are colorblind.
Yeah, and it actually skips a generation. So my grandfather was colorblind, so I got it from him.
Okay, and what's the primary colors that you don't see?
Mine's what's called a red-green colorblind.
That's the most common, I think.
That's the most common of them, yep. There's 2 other kinds, but that red-green is the most common. So Christmas time is not a lot of fun for me.
How does it affect you on a day-by-day basis?
Good question. Now, it's hard for me to explain to you what I actually see through my eyes, but with the iPads, there's a beautiful app now that can show you a split screen. It shows you what you guys see versus what I see.
And I think we're showing it to our audience right now. Look at the difference.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And when I look at those photos, they are identical to me. If you'd say, what's the difference in those? The color looks absolutely the same to me.
As I understand it, there's a defect in the cones, and it's there's no cure for it, so you're just going to have to do your best.
Right, yeah. And you mentioned how does it affect me in day-to-day? Overall, it doesn't affect me too much. Now, Kayla does pick out my clothes for me every morning because there's been a few times I've clashed pretty bad. She gets really upset at me because I can't tell when our kids are actually getting sunburnt because I can't see that red changing on their skin. And then grilling. If you think grilling steaks, seeing that pink in the middle, again, I can't see that, so that's another challenge for me. So just some simple things like that.
What you got to do is you throw the steak on for 30 seconds, flip it, leave it for 30 seconds, then take it off.
Well, how about this? You come over this weekend for a barbecue.
That kind of sounds a little dangerous. I don't.
JR, hey.
Yeah.
Kayla gave me the paint swatch for this. It's supposed to be this red color right here.
You're sure she wanted that red right there?
Yep, this red. That's what she said.
I think we better hold off and get Kayla's approval before we start painting this column.
All right, that's fine.
Well, since we're here, let's talk about paint a little more. Paint's really evolved in the last 40 or so years. People at home may know that we stopped using lead-based paint in 1978, and you're an expert on lead abatement. Can you talk to us a little more about lead-based paint?
Yeah, lead-based paint back in the day was the superior product. The colors were more vibrant, it would dry extremely fast, and it would hold up very, very well to weather. The problem is that lead is potentially and is harmful to us, but more importantly, it's to the infants, kids that are about 5 years old or younger. Now the problem is that lead, when it's ingested, actually replaces calcium in our body. So it'll actually absorb into our bones. Now for kids, it'll get into their system and it will stay there. There's no way to get it out. And all it takes is, you're familiar with like a sugar packet, a half of this sugar packet, if they ingest that much, it's gonna do irreversible damage.
So the folks at home, if they do have a house with lead-based paint in it, or if they're living in a house pre-1978, they should really be cautious and thinking about taking care and some corrective actions there.
Yeah, so any house that's built before 1940, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be lead-based paint in there. And we're not just talking about painted surfaces either, we're talking about stained surfaces. There's lead in those stained surfaces like the hardwood floors. Between 1940 and 1960, it's about 66%, and then up to 1978, it drops to about 24% because people were starting to realize the damage it was doing. Now, you gotta be real careful because there's areas that are high friction, like door frames, window frames, and kids are always putting stuff in their mouth. So there's ways to take care of it, to protect it. It's just a warning, know that it's out there and it's a potential harmful product.
So the paint that we're using today is a lot safer, and this is a really good example. This is Harmony Paint by Sherwin-Williams. This is not just safe, but it actually takes care of our house by absorbing some of the VOCs that might be in the home right now.
Absolutely. So the Harmony Paint will absorb the VOCs, it'll break them down into the inerrant compounds, similar to how we talked about drywall earlier, and then make it safe for you and I to breathe. But then this takes it a step further, and then any odors, it'll also eat those odors. So this paint, we have it all throughout this house here. It's worked phenomenally well for us.
Well, let's just try to finish this column, and maybe Kayla will be okay with it.
All right.
I don't don't think I can reach the top part though.
Oh, I can give you a boost. Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a ladder. I'll be right back.
One common question at our open houses is, what color is the wall? Well, here's a Granite Ridge difference. At each of our homes, which is about 35 model homes throughout Fort Wayne, we have a color palette. So stop in and you can get all of the colors that were used in that specific home.
You know, Luke, besides painting walls, we're also painting or covering garage floors, aren't we?
Yeah, you can see we got a beautiful garage floor here. A lot of people think this is epoxy.
It looks like epoxy,
Yeah.
no?
No, actually it's a hybrid polymer, which is even better product than epoxy. It's got a couple advantages that epoxy doesn't.
If you look close, it looks like paint chips.
Yeah, there's paint chips in here, and then they cover it with that hybrid polymer. They
Okay.
fill all the saw joints, so it gives it a nice even look all the way across. And then I mentioned it's better than epoxy because over time, epoxy will actually yellow from
I've seen that. I've seen
UV
that in my
rays from the
house.
lights.
Okay.
This won't do that, and this is actually a tougher product than epoxy.
And what's the advantages of covering your garage floor?
This product itself, basically the only thing that will affect this is if you leave battery acid on it for several days. That acid will start eating through it, but salt will not affect it. There's no hot tire
Oils
pickup.
aren't gonna be
Oils
absorbed
will,
in the
yep,
color?
oils
Okay.
will not absorb in
Wow.
this. It's a super easy product to clean up. You basically get the garden hose out, spray it down, and squeegee out the excess water. It dries within minutes.
There you go. There you go.
Lonnie, you know my favorite part about this hybrid polymer floor is?
What?
It's really durable and I can practice all my trick shots.
That was impressive.
We've been talking about the processes of drywall, but there's also some great new technology when it comes to drywall as well.
Yeah, one of the newer products is called sound effects or silent effects drywall. So it's a high density 1/4-inch boards that are paired together in between a layer of glue. So sound actually travels through the house through vibrations. So as that vibration's making its way through the wall, it hits that layer of glue and dens it.
That's amazing. There's so many great applications that people could use for this, including a theater room.
Yeah, another room that people tend to use this is the laundry room because they want to keep that noise down, especially if they're doing it on the weekends.
You know, we had a segment a couple shows ago where we were talking about snoring rooms and how some people are needing that extra space so that the spouses can both sleep well and not get woken up in the middle of the night.
That's one of my favorite segments, actually. Cost on this drywall is pretty inexpensive. You can do it for as little as $60 a board, so if you're only doing a few walls in the house, it's really manageable.
Hey, you know what? I say we turn the game up and let's test this drywall out, shall we?
They won't even know we're here.
Hey, Jack, can you bring me that over? Yeah,
This one?
yep, that should work.
Should just about do it.
All right. Well, I have some stuff laid out here. One of my favorite times of the year is when they announce the new color of the year.
But before you get into the new colors of the year,
Okay.
let's have a little bit of history on color.
All right.
A couple hundred years ago, there was really a limited number of color options to choose from, whereas today we have thousands. Some of the more popular colors back then were greens, so they used to paint shutters green. Do you know why?
I don't know why.
So the tint in the green was actually made of arsenic. So as they found out that there was a poisonous quality to that paint, they'd put it on shutters to keep bugs, mosquitoes, and everything away from the windows.
That's really interesting.
They also use red a lot. We've seen a lot of red barns here in the Midwest. So red was actually a cheaper color. The tint was made out of rust, so it was easier to get. So they used red on barns to save some money. And then they use white on the actual farmhouses.
Okay, now why? Is there a reason for that?
So white, the lead that was in the white paint actually lasted longer, and it was easier for them to touch up as well. So there was less maintenance on the white when they did the homes that way.
Now, a lot of the pictures we've seen, have you seen like the porches that have the ceilings that are blue? Do you know why they did that?
Yeah, so the Victorian style homes had these amazing porches. They do even more than one, 2 or 3. So they'd paint the ceiling on those porches blue so that it would mimic the sky. So on days that were overcast and kind of gloomy, they still had the view of the sky.
That's so great. Now we have all of those colors that we've used, and we're actually still using a lot of them today. And like I said before, my favorite time of the year is the new color of the year. A lot of times I refer to the Pantone color of the year. That's going to be a little bit more in the fashion industry, but fashion, it definitely trickles into the home industry after that. And then there's the Sherwin-Williams color of the year because Granite Ridge uses Sherwin-Williams. So for the last 5 years, we have pretty similar colors, really. You have more of the pinks and oranges and some of the greens that have been used as the colors of the year. Now this year in 2016, Pantone's color of the year They couldn't just choose one, they had to choose two, which I think is a great blend of color. We have the rose quartz and serenity, so a little bit more soft and subdued, a little bit more calming. And then Sherwin-Williams color of the year is alabaster, which is actually a really popular trim color that Granite Ridge uses. Now, I was a little disappointed to see Sherwin-Williams color of the year being white. I'm a designer, I want to see some fun, some color, you know, things like that. But when I was reading up about it, they said that white is actually going to be a great color for this year, especially because of the election coming up. So it represents a new, fresh start, and we're going to be really starting off this year with something different and a clean slate.
Okay, I can't figure out how the heck they come up with all the names for those colors.
Yeah.
I think we could come up with some creative names.
Of course we could.
Let's pick our own
Okay.
colors and name a
So
few.
we have some reds, and we got
Alabaster. I mean,
right.
we could come up with that. Here at our Innovation Home, located at 7467 Flutter Road. We've shown you this home before in previous episodes of Between the Studs, but it's really a home you need to come out and experience for yourself. Stop by on Sundays from 1 to 4 so I can show you and demonstrate all the wonderful technology, the energy efficiencies, and all of the amazing design elements that we've incorporated into this home. The home is newly listed for just under $900,000. Come out and see me on Sundays. We're located right next to River Hollow, which is one of our exclusive communities offering features like carriage barns, 1-acre parcels, and all public utilities like public water, sewer, and natural gas. Lot prices start from $59.9 and range up to $69.9. Come and see me Sunday from 1 to 4 or call me at the number below. I'd love to meet you out here so you can see this amazing home.
Color is so much fun. I've only got 2 pages left here.
Oh, Izzy, you know, everybody wants unique colors on their house. Let's take inspiration from my shirt here. I bet everyone would love it. Some pinks, some blues. How cool would that look?
Before we jump in with that, I might recommend, we've got an app here that we can actually check out the colors before we buy paint or anything. Make sure that they're really what you're looking for.
It is a really cool app. I do agree, but come on. I mean, I'm sold on this. Aren't
Guys,
you?
I
Really?
think you gave me a broken color wheel. It's not working. All I see is gray when I spin this around.
Oh, Luke, I feel so, I don't
Do
know.
you want to tell them?
Hey guys, look, I've become a real fan of colors.
I don't know about you, Lonnie, but I'm kind of getting tired of painting. Does that app really work? I don't have to use this anymore?
No, you can test it out before you try anything.
Oh, okay. I'm going to kick the can.
Well, as you can see, color is so important. We would love for you to come in and talk to us. We'd love to talk about color. It's really important with your setting, your floor plan, your location. Important.
So as always, guys, we want to thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please just pick up the phone, give us a call, visit the website below. Even better yet, stop in the front door. We love to brighten up your day.
You know, Izzy, can you show us that color thing again? Does that really work?
Now watch.
You know, my favorite color is yellow. Can you put yellow?
Let's try it in
Green.
yellow.
I like green.
Ooh.
And just like that, we'll switch to green.
What about red?
Nice.
All right, that's kind of risky, but let's try it.
Can you see this, Luke, at all? Anything?
All right, no more painting. This is awesome. Great job, Iz. I like that app. I'm going to get one of those. And if they're next to each other, Kayla, they're analogous. And when they're next to each other, what does that mean?
So that means they're, I don't know, what does it mean?
That they blend the colors together.
Well,
The color has the same shade in it.
We're in trouble.
They're blended together.
We would love for you to come in. We'd love to talk to you about color. A lot of things come into play. Sorry.
Don't cry though.
no, I have yellow, so yellow is one of the primary colors, and it's used for caution. It's very widely known as something that'll jump out to you, and yep, I am just totally babbling. Sorry. Okay.
Start with yellow. Yeah,
Okay.
I like that part.
Okay. Good. Hey, Jack, can you bring me that over there? I think, yeah.
I think that should just about do it.
All right.
You're going to start with the colors, and then I'm going to tell you that.
Right.
Yep. All right.
Sorry.
I tell you what, we go past about 3 of these, you're going to have to get up and down because
Okay.
I'll be out of gas.
So should I mess up on purpose?
No. Well, if you want to get out of that chair.
All right, ready?